Welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. If the little animation that we did see the last time around confirms that we are in Rin's route of the game, but I don't know what will. But also with the extensive time that we spent with Rin as well, and in the art room, etc. Having exhausted the books Kenji lent me in just a few nights, I go back to the library, deeming it a safer alternative for getting my reading fixed. Yeah, definitely safer. For goodness sake, safer. As long as we can avoid Kenji, then it's great. I returned the books he had stolen while I'm at it. To Yuko's delight, I don't tell her where I got them though. Wow, you sure read a lot, don't you? Yeah, I guess I do. I mean, I do. Even I think it's weird. I think I might have a reading problem. Maybe I'm a junkie. No. No, I didn't mean it that way. It's not weird at all. And being addicted to reading is a lot better than being addicted to something else. Like, drugs, for example. Yeah, I know. It was a joke. I smiled at her reassuringly and dropped the books on the counter so Yuko should check them out. I feel tired, so I sat down in the vacant chair in front of her desk. While Yuko goes through the modest pile of reading materials I found, I let my gaze wander around the library. At the tables, a pair of girls are chatting in hushed tones rather than working on their homework. The short-haired one notices me looking in their direction and waves at me. When I raise my hand back, they glance at each other and giggle in unison. Of course, pairs of girls would do that. I'm not sure how I should feel about that, so I decide it's a good thing. The one who waved at me has a horrible case of epilepsy. I saw her have an attack a few days ago. Yikes. It was one of the most disturbing and scary things I've seen in a very long time. Yet, there she is, happily chirping away about whatever, as if she doesn't have a care in the world. You know, this school is really something else. Yuko raised her eyebrows from the books she was going through, slightly startled. She adjusts her glasses and puts on a nervous, confused smile. What do you mean? I don't really know how to explain it. It's just that everyone's so active, or how should I put it? It's not just a festival thing, I think, even though I haven't been here that long. But it's everything. People talk more, work harder, and just are more than in any other school I've seen before. I'm struggling for words, but it feels like I'm speaking honestly. The most important thing is that you speak with your heart. This school feels so alive. It's refreshing. What do you mean it makes me feel I'm stuck? That's no good whatsoever, being stuck in a state like that. It's refreshing. Sure, there are some people like this in my old school, but not as many. And it feels more intense, somehow. I think if I had to put it down to one thing, that the students here really appreciate going to school. I don't think that's a bad thing. Yeah, me neither. Suddenly I realise I've just been blabbling my thoughts to Yuko, out of the blue. She's a bit of a jumpy person, so I feel I might have made a bad impression. She's looking at me with what I hope is curiosity rather than horror. So I figure she's alright. Sorry for suddenly talking about weird stuff like this. I didn't mean to trouble you. Oh no, it's not troubling. I'm happy to listen if you feel like talking. It makes me feel a little reliable too. Yuko smiles sweetly and a little bit ironically at that. I respond with a thankful smile of my own. As she pushes the neat stack of books across the counter, I stand up and gather them in my arms. Here you are. Thank you. I guess we'll be meeting each other again. Please come here anytime. Yuko's kindness is heartwarming. You can count on it. See you around. See you later on. And there is the end of the day, of course. Whenever the screen goes black, it definitely is a sign that the day is over and there are no more events between, obviously. We just warp to bed where the events are. The morning of the track meet greets me with a brilliant sunshine from a crystal blue sky. While I leisurely stroll towards the track as I visit a good sign. Of what, I'm not sure. This event isn't as exciting for me as it seems to be for a large portion of the student body. I'm even less interested in watching sports than I'm participating, but cheering for Emmy is a good cause. I'm not expecting this to be any sort of amazing and spectacular experience, but it can't hurt. I'd probably be spending the time reading while cooped up in my room otherwise. While I approach the bleachers, I spot Rin emerging from the crowd right before she spots me. Hello. You came. Of course I would. What do you think I am, a slacker? Of course, I said I would, didn't I? That doesn't necessarily imply that you had to follow through. Well, here I am, to prove you wrong. Lots of people say things don't mean them. That is just life, unfortunately. Well, I don't. Ren shrugs, seemingly bored of our conversation. She turns on her heel and heads back toward the stands. So, are you excited about this? Not really. Me neither. Then why did you come? Why did you? She doesn't reply at all, so I decide not to either. We enter the bleachers and Rin nods upwards. Up there. What is up there? The sky? Nothing but the crystal clear blue sky. Rin leads the way as soon we settle down on an almost empty bench. And... there's an older woman sitting next to Rin. Someone's mother, I assume? She's got rather long hair done up in a braid. On seeing Rin, she gives her an oddly familiar seeming grin. Well, this is surprising. I thought you went to get a snack. Not a boy. Huh? This is no good. The woman laughs at Rin and shakes her head, apparently unable to find a comeback for that. I know the feeling. I wonder if that is somebody that Rin knows. Well, I suppose you've always been one to go out for one thing and bring back another. But I'm being rude. I haven't introduced myself. I'm Maiko. I'm sure if you know this girl, you've at least met my daughter too. Pleased to meet you. Well, that explains it. She's like a taller, older, more motherly Emmy. Aha, okay. Apart from her hair being somewhat darker than her daughter's, there's really no mistaking the resemblance. Sorry, I'm Hisao. Hisao Nakai. Nice to meet you too. I'm Rin Tezuka. Mrs. Aparasaki laughs again. She really does resemble her offspring, and then leans back a little on her seat and raises an eyebrow. So now that we all know each other, how long have you... We've not dated, for goodness sakes. My response consists of silence as my brain suddenly lurches into gear. But just before I can begin to utter a hastily babbled explanation, Emmy's mother's burst into laughter again. No, we're not. I don't know if there's any way to keep my dignity in this situation, so I settle for a mumbled response. We're not. I know, but it's funny to watch you squirm. I'm sorry, forgive an old woman her amusements. For her amusements, she chuckles again to herself. Old woman? She sure doesn't look that old to me. That would be a compliment and a half. I suppose I can let it go. How kind of you. It's starting. It's always starting. I direct my attention to the track where they're preparing for the first sprint. It looks like the 400-meter dash on the field. Considering where they're starting, it does look like the 400-meter dash. My eyes scan the runners before finding Emmy. She's smiling, with an almost cocky look on her face. And the starter raises his pistol, and off they go. Emmy explodes off the block, disappearing from the starting line in a blur. It's amazing, even as the other sprinters converge on the lines closer to the inside line, Emmy surges to the front of her pack. By the time she rounds the final turn, a few of the other runners have caught up with her. But she puts on a final burst of speed that leaves at least half a second behind. Mrs. Icaras, however you want to pronounce her name, Woobson shouts, applauding wildly and genuinely looking like any other parent cheering on their child. Emmy bounds off the track looking pleased with herself, and I cheer right along with the rest of the team. The announcer, sounding suspicious like Misha, gleefully gives the results. I think she's gone faster since the last time. You think so? That was incredible. Mrs. Abarasaki grins proudly. Emmy's a heck of a runner. With foresight as the next event prepares to start. I'm surprised to see Emmy striding out onto the track again. Wait, didn't she just run? Emmy's mother nods. Yes, but she runs multiple events for the team, especially the sprints. It's a lot of running, but Emmy can handle it. Yep, she can definitely handle it. If there's one person in this entire game that can handle multiple running events, it would be Emmy. A lot of crashes as well, but hopefully there's no crashes in this time around. From the look of things, she's right. Emmy doesn't appear to be tired, as if she hadn't run the previous event at all. Nah, this is not even breakfast. This is like the light appetizer. If not for the sweat visible on her shirt, you'd never know. Exactly. Which event is this? It's the 200 meter dash. She'll do this one, the 100 meter, and the relay. So basically all of them then. I see. Once again the pistol sounds, and once again Emmy flies off the block. A thumping sound draws my attention away from the race. It's Rin's foot. She seems completely absorbed in the race. Emmy's mother cheers again, and I assume that the race is over. There we go. Sprints doesn't seem to me like they take very long to complete. Nope, because it's who's the fastest rather than who runs the longest, sorry, your foot. Your foot was bouncing on the bleachers. Oh? You seem pretty into this stuff. I'm surprised. I thought you said this wouldn't be exciting. I suppose you're right. It's not that interesting. But I'm watching Emmy, not the sport. I don't follow. So basically she's here for Emmy, not for the passion of the sport. Emmy is the most Emmy when she runs. Right. You don't get to see Emmy at her Emmy-ist very often. The Emmy-ist. But here you can see she directs my attention toward the track again, where the 100 meter dash is about to start. And there we go, again, sorry, I watch Emmy closely. As she gets onto the starter blocks, her whole body seems to relax, but it's a false relaxation. I can see that she's actually like a coiled spring. And off they go again as the starter tells everyone to get set. Her head snaps up and her eyes narrow slightly. Her mouth curls upward in what could be a grin and could be a growl. And off they go again. When the pistol goes off, it's as if she had unleashed from a cage, like she was always moving at this blinding speed, but we couldn't see it happening until the starter pistols dispelled the illusion of motionless. Emotionless, for goodness sakes, the illusion of motionless. As soon as she crossed the finish line, the fierce look was replaced by her normal grin. The concrete general returned to his farm. Amazing. She's really amazing. I've never seen someone move that fast in real life. Like, is she the next Usain Bolt? Or the next Insane Bolt? Well, don't look at me. I'm far too relaxed to run that fast. No, I think Emmy's prowess all came from her father's side. The mention of Emmy's father, Mrs. Abarasaki, looks wistful, almost sad. Like if something happened to him or their marriage. He got her into running, you know. Oh, really? I didn't know that. I leave it at that, and don't say anything, for a little while. I get a feeling this is something personal I shouldn't ask about. A bleeping noise suddenly emanates from Mrs. Aparasaki's pocket. Reaching into it, she pulls out a cell phone and looks at it. Honestly, text messages? What is he, 16? Oh, nothing. I've got to go meet up with a friend of mine. Will you tell Amy I'm very proud of her and that I'll call her later tonight? Of course. Of course we shall. Of course we will. While waiting for a relay to start, I peer at Rin. She seems uninterested in her surroundings, myself included. Goodness sakes, that remark she made before is still stuck in my head. Emmy's the most Emmyist when she's running. It does make sense, now that I think about it. After seeing her run now, I can believe that Emmy gives her all on the track. Sports are more than a hobby or even competition to her. They're a defining aspect of her life. What about Rin then? Does she feel the same way about art, considering the persistence she displayed before a festival? I could easily believe it. Did I see her most Rin when she was painting the mural? The relay's about to begin, but I don't see Emmy anywhere. I thought Emmy ran the relay. She could be in one of the other parts of the track. She runs anchor, so she won't be running for a while yet. Ah, did you see it? Huh? Emmy at her Emmyist? Maybe. Maybe this time. The race begins and I cheer Emmy's teammates along as they pass the baton. And there they go again. Finally I see Emmy sprinting onto the track to take the final handoff. Obviously everyone looks the same here. Once again I'm taken aback by how graceful she looks when she runs. It really is beautiful. The look of determination and fearlessness on her face only adds to the picture. Emmy at her emmiest, I suppose. And there we go again. Emmy flies across the finishing line with everyone exactly the same place as well on the CG. With a great leap, just barely ahead of the next runners, but still in first. It's always about the first place when it comes to that competition. Well, let's go down. Gotta crown the victor. See if you can find a L'Oreal branch. That's not going to be easy. Rin shrugs. At least we tried. Emmy is surrounded by her teammates, all of them congratulating her on the run. Rin seems to be waiting for Emmy to notice that she's arrived. It doesn't seem her style to draw attention to herself, or to emote beyond shrugging. Being more impatient than Rin, I wave to Emmy and her steed. She looks up and grins happily at us. Hell yeah! Hey, you showed up! We would have brought you a crown of L'Oreals, but Hisao couldn't find one. Neither did you. It wasn't my job to look. And I wasn't accepting this job in the first place. When do we assign jobs? When I said see if we could find a L'Oreal branch. Try to keep up. I shrug, guess Rin's rubbing off on me. Seems it's my fault after all, Emmy. Emmy laughs at Rin and me. It's okay, I'm sure you make it up to me somehow. Sure. Good, so how'd I look? Very impressive. Emmy seems pleased with this assessment. I don't mention how much more impressive her performance is given her lack of legs. I figure she knows that already. Besides, it seems like it would take away from her efforts somehow. Great to hear. I was worried I would look a little slow on the relay, but I guess I did fine, huh? Emmy giggles and then seems to remember something. Oh, before I forget, Rin and I are going to do something next Saturday as a post-track meet celebration. You should come along. Normally we do it the day after, but since today is Sunday, I've got homework and class and all that stuff to take care of, so maybe next weekend? Oh sure, I'd love to. Great, it's a promise then. Oh right, your mum wanted to say she's proud of you. She'll call you later tonight. I thought I saw her in the stands. I'm glad she made it. Hey Emmy, you're going to miss the medal ceremony. I was going to say the medical ceremony. Oh yeah, thanks. So got 4 golds. She turns to Rin and myself. You don't have to stick around for this part. It takes forever. Besides, you should be cracking on your homework now if you don't want to be up late, Hisao. Thanks for the reminder, Emmy. Emmy skips back to her teammates, leaving me and Rin by ourselves. Neither of us has the slightest interest in the post-competition ceremonies, so we're starting to get away and back to the quad. Rin yawns without even trying to restrain herself and shuffles her feet around restlessly. I feel awkward, but less so than if I was with someone else. Still, I'm left hanging. No, I know what I should say next. Emmy was great, wasn't she? She was great. I'm very jealous of her. Why? Like I said, don't you think it's great to be able to really be yourself? It sounds weird coming from Rin. I don't think you, of all people, should have trouble finding a way to express yourself. Don't you have your paintings? She turns to look at me. For the first time, I see in her eyes a strange, hollow expression that I think must be unique to her. Now you see, the problem is that I'm not really sure who I am. Life, every day, is about self-discovery. Okay. Why does it cut out then? Like, are we not meant to see that bit of dialogue until later on within the game? But life is about self-discovery in its own way. Today's art club meeting is currently on hold while everyone waits for Nomiya to show up. I take this time to try and explain my theory about Yamaku to Rin. I've tried to figure out what exactly about the school feels so special to me. That concept I unsuccessfully tried to explain to Yuko the other day. It's still difficult, but the track meet and the time I spent observing my fellow students has helped my ideas mature a little. Have you noticed that people talk all the time? I can't really explain it, but once again, as I try to explain my observation, I'm struggling for words. The student body is heavily cliched, and I'm only now beginning to make sense of the intricate grouping and popularity networks, and yet the theme of being a part of a group is stronger here than I remember it being in my old schools. I'm trying to say that this school isn't like other schools, or at least the students aren't, even after discounting the obvious. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you mean. Oh well. Whatever then. Damn it. I want to pursue the issue, but at that point, Nomiya arrives. Hello. The teacher is wiping sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief and breathing rather heavily. He quickly glances over the room, then settles down a bit. Hello. Hello, hello. Apologies for being late. Is everyone present? Good. I must confess, I haven't really planned anything for today, as I've been extremely busy lately. But I'm sure we can come up with something entertaining. Anyone have any suggestions? I was thinking we could have a discussion circle since we haven't had one in a while. I, at least, find the last one magnificently enjoyable. There are some murmurs here and there, but nobody raises their voice in support or against Nomiya. We could delve into various movements of art, or does someone have a good topic in mind? Come on, throw it out there. It doesn't matter if it's silly or odd. We can always cook up something interesting. Nobody seems to be brave enough to make such a suggestion. As the awkward silence refused to be broken, I left my hand in the air. Oh, our newest friend seems to have something on his mind. Speak up, my boy, speak up. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but I've always wondered why art exists in the first place. My voice trails off. A silence sits in the room, and nobody makes a follow-up on my meek suggestion. Then the teacher bursts into laughter. Oh, excellent. Very good indeed. Right out of the gate with a big one, huh? Fabulous. Chuckling, he shifts some papers around his desk for a few moments. When he's done, he appears to have made some sort of decision. Very well, then. Let us run with this and see where it gets us, shall we? Oh my, even an old fogey like me gets excited when such a delicious enthusiasm is present. Oh my, indeed. Let me gather my thoughts for a moment so I can figure out a good starting point for everyone. For some reason, the teacher seems to be almost literally bursting with excitement. He scribbles a few things down on a loose sheet of paper, then cleans his glasses with the handkerchief. He strikes a pose, then freezes for an overly dramatic, artistic pause that spans what must be half a minute. It's so quiet I could hear a pin drop. First, let's come up with a few questions that we want answered, such as, what is art? And why does art exist? Anyone have any questions that might be related? The boy with sunglasses pipes up almost immediately. His voice is soft and quiet, and I have a hard time making out what he says. What defines an artist? After him, another question comes up. If I fill a cardboard box with water and call it art, is it art? Everyone laughs at that, even the teacher. The answer is both. It is art. Great, wonderful, all of these. Let me start by saying that this is not a clear-cut issue by any means, and as such, I'm not going to give any answer to you. I'm only going to speak from my own perspective. Scholars have argued about these sorts of questions since time immemorial, and there has never really been a broadly applicable consensus reached. There are, however, some qualities that most tend to generally agree upon. Hopefully, you should find these acceptable as well. In short, art defines itself. It simply cannot be contained to a definition from the outside, since the boundaries of art expand and contract from forces within. Every day, someone somewhere comes up with something completely outrageous that challenges any and all preconceptions. There we go. The core reason for this is that, rather than the rational side of the mind, art appeals to the intuition, the instinct, the primal. You would find it very hard to explain why exactly it is that you enjoy some particular style or piece, no? It doesn't wait for a response before continuing. This is exactly why. So, art is this sort of wild, uncontrollable black hole that lurks somewhere deep in our subconscious. Now, why does it exist? Nomiya apparently expects someone to pipe up with a guess, but as nobody dares to interrupt his inspired speech, he continues. It was a trick question, you see. Art also validates itself. Generally speaking, you might say that art exists for no other purpose than itself. It's something that exists merely to leave a mark on history. It's the defiance of a mortal against the face of darkness. As was once said, art is truly the proof of our existence. You all should know that human culture and civilization are tightly tied to the existence of art. Then what about artists? What drives a man or a woman to dedicate their life to a thing so fickle and mysterious that it even defies definition? There are as many answers for this as there are artists, but if I had to put it into words, an artist doesn't make art because they can, but because they must. Nomiya takes a pause and his gaze sweeps over his audience, eyes flowing with passion. It is obvious that art touches the very soul of each and every human being in one way or another. So if you were given a chance to connect with your fellow person in such a fundamental way, how could you not? There is a poem I'm very much fond of, and I shall recite the most well-known part of it to you now. I feel that, for me personally, of all possible things, it captures best the essence of what it means to be an artist. Nomiya leans against the desk as he clears his throat in preparation. Looking at some distant place, he utters the words in the heavy afternoon air with his soft basso voice. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in the hour. There is a solemn and unbelievably awkward silence after he finishes reciting the short fragment. Nobody dares speak a word. Nomiya clears his throat again. Nomiya. To be an artist is to see the world in a grain of sand. You see, dear children, without art, there would not be much of a life to live. Sorry, there would not be much to live for in this world. It is the most profound thing. He is clearly touched by this notion. I almost expect to see a lone tear running down his rough cheek, but it never comes. I turn to her and whisper to her, so how is this a discussion circle? She shrugs nonchalantly back at me. The previous ones were the same. My goodness sakes. Oh no. To his credit, Nomiya does try to get some debate going, but the club seems to be reluctant to comply. I feel a bit guilty about opening my mouth. Maybe we would have been spared from this. What do you mean spared? I think it's inspiring. As the meeting comes to a close, I realise we haven't once touched any paint or pens today, and I feel somewhat disappointed. Nomiya suddenly appears next to us. He seems to have still fired up from the speech he delivered. His cologne smells musky and that word at the same time. He's given me an instant headache. Even though I'm not sensitive to perfumes, he is looking at Rin like a hungry wolf. Tezuka, do you remember Mrs. Sonaji, who visited us at the festival? I think so. I'm going to tell you something amazing. The thing is, she's a very well-known gallerist around here. It turns out I might be able to get her to consider having some of your work put on the display. He ended his sentence with a dramatic gesture. It seems he's expecting Rin to show some sort of joyous, shocked reaction at such grand news, but she just stares at him blankly. Magnificent, isn't it? This could be a real chance for us to get ahead, girl. But now, I know what you're about to say. Yes, it wouldn't be a simple affair, but I think this is an absolutely fantastic opportunity. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we even made it big. This could be the first step, and then when the word is out, we strike while the iron is hot. Right, Nakai? Yeah, it does sound pretty great, if you're into that kind of thing. See? We should definitely not let this one pass, am I right? I don't really. Rin seems to be troubled for some reason. I can't figure out why. What Nomiya is saying does indeed sound like a possibly great thing. She looks pretty down though, and confused. I've never seen her like this. She may not like the limelight. So, what do you think? Rin looks up to her teacher's glowing face, then back down at her desk. I'll think about it. Nomiya is at least taken slightly aback by Rin's lack of superlative delight. Then he smiles widely at her and gently pats her head. Good girl. The club meeting is finally over, and as I lazily collect my things and help clean up whatever mess we made, I start feeling exhausted for some reason. There isn't much to do. However, it's over so quickly. I catch up to Rin, who left the club room just a moment earlier, so walking down the stairs to the ground floor while I try to go over Nomiya's passionate speech about art, and Rin seems to be lost in thought. Not an unusual state for her, I've learned, but something about her expression makes me feel uneasy. Penny for your thoughts? That'd be too cheap. Alright, $1 for your thoughts, or £1. You're just overpricing your thoughts. I wouldn't be able to sell them anyway. I'm not sure what I'm thinking yet. That'd be fraud too, like stealing a candy from a baby. That's theft, not fraud. I have to think about what I think. Is that about what the teacher said? Get your work put on display and all that? She doesn't answer, but stops in her tracks as we reach the lobby. We're the only people around, so it's very quiet. Footsteps echo from a few floors up as someone hurries along the hallway. I think I'm going to go somewhere else. Somewhere elsewhere. I think she's really troubled. Want company? I can't promise much help with the thinking. It's not like I have much else to do, and I'm supposed to do some light exercise. If you like. Okay. Rin leads me outside to the walls behind the dormitories. There is a small back gate there, made from the same wrought iron as the main gate. It leads to the shadowy woodland park behind the school. The gate is rusty, as if it hadn't seen much use. However, it sits open, so we pass through. It's not forbidden for students to leave the grounds, but somehow I feel a little uneasy. A path leads deeper into the forest. Tall zelkova and maple trees rustle in the wind, their canopies creating patches of chill air hanging in places where the shadows fall. The forest smells strongly of earth. I almost feel cold, even though the midsummer day is as hot as ever. Rin trudges ahead like a sleepwalker, sure-footed, but with no apparent destination in mind. Her thoughts seem to be somewhere else. I follow a few steps behind, taking more care to watch where my feet land. The path follows the land uphill at a low angle, sometimes making little detours down here before climbing back uphill. The muted brown and grey trunks line the path on both sides, peppered with ferns and other undergrowth. After a little while I start getting worried. The path is still wide and clear, but there's no chance of getting lost. But it isn't like we have any particular destination. There's nothing wrong with a bit of aimless wandering around, but I don't want to go so far that I don't get too tired to walk back. I'm starting to get a little winded and my legs feel heavy. I want to stop and get a chance to catch my breath and rest my legs, but Rin keeps on going. Where are we going? Or are we going anywhere at all? Worry tree. I see. So what exactly is the worry tree? It's just a tree. Like this. She stops in front of a particularly large maple that might or might not be the worry tree. Its lush green leaves swayed lightly in the breeze, blowing through the small clearing we entered. I guessed as much. There are people who believe that you must come here to wallow in misery if you are miserable. Only by people I mean me, and the tree isn't really called anything. So, if you're miserable, you talk to a tree about it? No? What? You can't talk to trees? What do you think I am? Crazy? No, I didn't mean it like that. Or maybe you talk to trees. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that you are crazy, even though you probably are if you talk to trees. I would recommend it either case. People would think you are a weird person. Okay, Rin. No, just forget it. She looks mildly confused, for which I don't blame her at all. She tilts her head a little to the side, expression melting back to her usual one. Alright, I'm good at forgetting things. So why are we here? Are you miserable then? I can't read the expression she makes. I hate how bad I am at interpreting Rin's mood. She doesn't answer right away, as if she herself isn't quite certain her own mood. The blank stare changes into a more difficult expression as she shuffles her weight around. Finally coming to a conclusion, Rin shrugs her shoulders. I've grown to seriously dislike that gesture. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe I just feel kind of like I'm sinking underwater. I don't know what I should do. I don't know where I should go. That's all. Maybe it's not big of a deal, but I thought walking might help. Kind of like, if I go somewhere, I would know where I should go. I don't really know if I did. It really would have made sense if walking had helped to decide where to go. So you don't want to try to get an exhibition, or rather you don't know if you do. Can't decide. Rin doesn't say anything for a while, arranging her thoughts in silence. The quiet is broken by bird song from somewhere in the treetops, followed by rustling leaves as the bird takes flight. Maybe... I'm not sure if I can have a thing like that. So far I've only painted for myself. I don't think I could have my things on display the way I am now. This me couldn't do it. Then what other version of you could? Her reason sounds like a weak excuse. I make my trademark frown, but she doesn't notice it. I don't get it. The teacher certainly thinks you could. I don't think he'd suggest it otherwise. Sounds like he's calling in favours from his friends too. I know, he's really done a lot for me, but this might be too much. Becoming someone who can do it might be pretty hard. Maybe I couldn't do it at all. He can't do it for me, and if I let him try, I just sink deeper and deeper. Rin stands in front of a large maple and turns away from me. I want to close the few feet of distance between us and... I don't know. My irritation is suddenly gone, and I start to feel sympathetic for her. I know exactly how you feel. Well, maybe I don't, but still... I think I haven't felt like I was actually in control of my own life this whole year. I'm just helplessly going along with the flow. Like coming here to this school. I didn't really choose it myself. And I certainly didn't choose this time of my life to learn that I have this condition. I still can't casually say the word aloud. It's like, yeah, it's exactly like being underwater. Like I can't even breathe. Rin turns to face me again. A sad expression on her face. Is that why you look so sad all the time? I don't want to look sad like you. Do I look to you like you look to me? I don't look sad all the time. I just don't know what I should be feeling. What kind of face I should be making. Me neither. Do I look sad now? You look hurt. Not really. You look like you always do, I think. But I'm sinking. I should try to float up, like a rubber duck. Quack quack, all yellow and creepy. You mean confident. I have to think for a few seconds about which direction I should pursue in this conversation. Then I realise that it doesn't matter. You think rubber duckies are creepy? You don't? I think they look very creepy. Everything that has eyes but isn't alive is very disturbing. Like rubber duckies and reflections in mirrors. That reflection is alive. Unless of course you can't see yourself in the mirror. She plops down on the forest bed, leaning on the maple she named the worry tree. After wondering what to do for a minute, I sit down too, 3 feet apart from her. The forest envelops us in its embrace, and its stillness falls upon the two of us. We sit there without speaking for a long time. I can literally feel the time passing. Patches of sunlight litter the small clearing in a pattern that echoes the maple canopies. One of them falls directly on me, warming me all the way to the bone. I wonder what I could do for myself, and maybe for Rin. For now, I just keep watching her from this distance. Sometimes she cranes her neck all the way back, so much that it looks almost painful, and stares up a small patch of sky visible past the canopy of a worry tree. Sometimes she just stares blankly ahead, as if seeing something just beyond her reach. My bad. She keeps whispering to herself, but so quietly that I can't hear her, even though I'm sitting right next to her. Bit worrying. It's like you want to say your thoughts aloud, but you don't want the person next to you to hear what you're saying. I only see her lips moving, like she was in the middle of a distant dream. I realize that right now, I no longer feel any of the intense loneliness I feel at night, just before falling asleep. I might be more like Rin than I thought. Don't say that. I can either give up and stay submerged under the weight of all the rubbish in my life, or try to change myself for the better. Her decision is different, yet the same. Physically different, psychologically the same. And unlike her, I know for sure that I can't stay like this forever. I have to change. I would be more like... like, what on earth is this situation going about, for goodness sakes? Like, I want to be more like my best friend. I want to be more like Rin. Rin could probably do it, even though she seems to doubt herself. I have no doubts about her strength. She can do it, even if she can't. It makes me feel a little bit better too, and I lean back against the tree, breathing out deeply, as if for the first time in a long time. We stay that way in the small clearing until the angle of the sun changes and the chilly shadows deepen. No longer warm when we sit, we leave the forest, returning along the same path we took coming in. It doesn't seem like Rin has come to a decision. I wonder if it was a bad idea for me to come along. It's alright. I don't mind. I'm sure the trees and dirt and rocks won't mind either. So you're saying that they have feelings now? Did you mind? No, not at all. I think it helped me too. When we walk back towards the dormitories, the sky is changing to a deep ultramarine. The first summer stars twinkle softly from between spots in the canopy, barely visible like tiny fireflies. I became very self-conscious about Rin's presence. How comes? I haven't thought much about girls since things fell apart with Iwanako. This is kind of the same situation as men, but to be honest, I don't think it really counts for much, not with Rin, and yet, it feels good walking next to her, even if it isn't anything more than this. At first, I think Rin agitated me quite a bit with her unpredictable behaviour, but recently, I feel I haven't had to be on my toes so much. I've managed to let myself go a little. It makes me feel satisfied, even though ultimately I think it's more thanks to Rin than myself. She seems to be disinterested in a huge number of things, but something in her makes me try harder than I normally would. It's not that I want to impress her. Are you sure? I think that truly impressing Rin would take near superhuman feat just because of how she is. And it says because there is this relentless feeling inside of me that I shouldn't let Rin down. It's really weird. I wonder why I started thinking like that. I don't even know what sort of expectations she has about pretty much anything. So how could I let her down? Rin has this unassuming air around her, and she doesn't really talk about stuff very often. Even today's confession of her self-doubt caught me a little bit off guard. I feel like I want to talk more with her. The realization suddenly dawns on me that Rin is basically the only person I talk to nowadays, apart from whenever I have to endure from Senjuni, Mishu, or Kenji. I feel so depressed. Yeah, both three names definitely. They're loud in their own ways. In front of the dormitories, summoned by my dark thoughts, we run into Kenji himself. It feels very odd seeing him outside, breathing fresh outdoor air. At least it's already dusk. I partially expect Kenji would disintegrate upon direct exposure to the sun, like if he is a vampire. Kenji himself seems very insecure as well, standing around looking like he's waiting for something, but doesn't know himself what it might be. Hey Kenji, what are you doing? Hello. Who are you? It's me, Hisao. I'm not sure if we know Tezuka from Class 3-4. From his face I can see, but not only he doesn't know Rin, he also can't see her from this short distance. Oh, sup dudes. Kenji sticks his hand enthusiastically forward, almost straight into Rin's stomach. Rin looks at his outstretched hand in confusion until Kenji clears his throat and retracts the hand. This is something almost cool that he manages to do with social awkwardness. It's not like I'm the most savvy person but player, but I don't think I'll ever be able to even approach Kenji's level. I think I respect Kenji. Why? So you're waiting for someone? He leans closer and lowers his voice to an agitated whisper. I see his facial muscles twitching. Come on, man. You know I can't talk about stuff here in public. They might be listening. I'm going to have to go pick up some stuff from somewhere, and I don't want those snooping student council hags on my case. Also, I don't trust your friend, nothing personal. Are you sure? Okay, first of all, your gender assumptions are wrong. I briefly considered telling Kenji about Rin's gender, but as it might end up badly for one or both of them, I decided against it. Yeah, I'm sure. He turns from me to Rin, and I immediately get the feeling that I have to prevent them from talking to each other with whatever means necessary. However, there is little I can do now, apart from physical violence. In that case, would you be interested in knowing about the worst threat to mankind since they invented vegetarianism? He sounds like a vacuum cleaner salesman. I thought it was Sunday. I see you're not in the know. Yeah, man. I'm talking about man-eating cows here. Very few people know what I know, so I'm not surprised. Yeah, of course. Of course. It's like Rintaro Okabe levels of crypticness about the organization, except it's Kenji talking about man-eating cows. We can't talk here, but if you like a pamphlet, come to my room after curfew on Mondays or Wednesdays. He suddenly reaches to his pockets and draws out a ballpoint pen and what looks like a convenience store receipt. Kenji furiously scribbles on the scrap of paper and then thrusts it towards Rin. Here's your password. Memorize it and then eradicate any trace of this document. Eat it, burn it, dissolve it in acid, whatever. I take the receipt from Kenji as Rin is unable to do so, and glance at it. It's indeed a receipt, apparently for 2 rice bowls and 5 boxes of matches. Hope he is not planning to burn anything down. On the other side is written just one word. Honey muffin. Right. I showed her in too, but she shows no reaction. Thank you? Yo, hi Sal, you still in that club? The Club of Dark Arts? Fine art. Actually, yeah. Actually, just had a meeting today. Still got your wits about you. No shitty mind tricks going on. Nothing personal, man, but I have to be on top of things. Oh dear, this could take longer than I want it to. Luckily, it was only about 5 lines left. Kenji takes off rapidly towards main gate. Rin looks after him, frowning. We watch after Kenji's diminishing figure in silence. What's wrong with me? Oh dear. Technically speaking, I think he's legally blind. Oh, I see. Yeah, you can't see the lack of arms on Rin, but still decides to do that act anyways. For goodness sakes. Meh. Right. I can immediately tell from the envelope that it's not about official matters of any sort. Someone actually wrote me an old-fashioned, handwritten paper letter. Parents? Who bothers doing something like this in this day of age? Anyway, yet as unlikely as the prospect of receiving one sounds, there is definitely a letter lying on my desk. The classes for the day are over. Still feeling pretty full from the big lunch I had unexpectedly eaten at cafeteria. I returned to my dorm planning on finishing my homework and probably skipping dinner, or at least just eating light. I feel like I need to eat less than I used to. Maybe I don't use that much energy, now that I don't do much beyond reading. However, the letter on my desk has naturally caught my attention. It's the first piece of mail I've received here at Yamako. so it feels special even if it wasn't something as rare as a handwritten letter. What causes me even more trepidation is the name of the sender, written neatly on the back of the envelope. Iwanako. What? I have no idea why she would write to me. I haven't been in contact with anyone from my old school since I transferred, and Iwanako is the last person I expect to want to write me a letter. The last time I saw Iwanako was terribly awkward, embarrassingly so. She came to my hospital room, peeled me an apple out of curiosity, and then we practically sat in silence for half an hour. She said goodbye and didn't look at me in the eye when she closed the door. It might have been a neutral end to the series of visits that were probably pretty painful for both of us. Every time she visited me in the hospital, I wanted to talk to her, but something stopped me every time. Every time I didn't speak made the next time even harder. Iwanako always had this aura of fragility around her, as if she'd shatter into pieces at the slightest disturbance. Initially, I think it might have been that delicacy that attracted me to her, but after what happened back then, it felt as if she really had shattered. She looked so sad I didn't want to say anything that might upset her, and I never could figure out the right words to say. I told her that it wasn't her fault. She nodded, and I really think she understood that if it hadn't been that, then sooner or later something else would have made my heart give out. Yet she looked so hopelessly sad every time she opened that door and entered my room, so I never managed to say the things I wanted to say. In the end, that might have hurted her even more. So let's see. Carefully, I open the envelope and draw out the folded letter from within. It does look like a short letter as well. Righty-ho then. Dear Hisao, how are you? I hope you are well and happy at your new school. Everyone here misses you. Almost all of our second year class got put together in class 3-1 for the final year, so we are pretty comfortable right from the beginning of the year. I'm sure you would have been assigned to this class as well. Thanks for that. The moon among the third year seems to be very anxious about the final exams, even though they are so far away. The teachers are badgering us about it all the time. Even old Mr. Tachibana, who is, by the way, our homeroom teacher this year. Would you believe it? I was sure that he'd retire after our second year, but here he is, nagging everyone about studying for exams. I think things like that are the main reason why the mood among the third years is so nervous. I must admit that I'm somehow losing confidence in myself as well, even though I've always fared reasonably well in exams. It's so weird to think that we are already seniors, isn't it? Time has really flown past. I wonder where it went. The new first year seems so young and somehow really innocent. Really now. I keep wondering if I was like them in my first year. I've been feeling nostalgic like that for the whole first trimester. There are other things I want to say. I'm writing you because I felt that there are things I should have said after the incident back in winter. I really regret that I wasn't able to say them in person, and I have no excuse for it. The truth is, the times when I visited you at the hospital made me worried about you. I'm not talking about your health. You seem to become more distant and disheartened. It was natural after something like that happened, I'm sure, but somehow I got the feeling that you had given up on something back then. Happiness, maybe. This is really deep. I wanted to somehow express my feelings, but the right words didn't come to me. I couldn't say anything to comfort you. I am really sorry for not being able to support you when it mattered the most. Even though I like you so much, at least now finally I can be more honest. If I could go back to those quiet days in February and March, I'd tell you not to give up on yourself. That's what I would say. Maybe you wouldn't have drifted so far away if I just said something. I hope you've managed to get back on your feet on your own. Now that the distance between us is also physical, it also feels more final. Somehow I wonder if we will meet again. Perhaps it's probably best if we don't? Still, if you would like to correspond with me, by all means write back to me. I'd very much like to hear about your new school and how you are doing. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Iwanako. Wow, that was pretty powerful. After finishing reading the letter, I folded it like it was and placed it on my desk. I don't know what to think of this. I feel empty and confused. Why now after all this time? Just yesterday I decided that I can't let myself stay like this, but I tried to get on top of my life. Reading this letter just reminds me of what I could have been. Of course I wish I didn't have to be here. I'd want to be in the same class with Iwanako again. Maybe we'd talk every day now and go on dates. My life didn't go like that. I didn't really need to be reminded of this. Iwanako needs to write this letter for her own sake, and I'm glad for her that she could. But it would have been better if I hadn't read it. Of course she is right. I thought the same thing yesterday. I had fallen into a pit of depression, and now have to try and climb out. I rip out a page from my notebook, and after a moment of thinking how to frame my words, write a short reply to Iwanako. I find it difficult to be really honest to her, but at least I try to appear somewhat convincing. I don't write to her about Yamanako at all. I doubt she'll write me again, but I don't feel at all sad about it. I forward my own letter to her, and as I have no envelope, set it next to Iwanako's. I'll mail it to her later. Then I lie back on my bed, looking at the monotone grey ceiling. A bird sings outside of my window, and a sudden gust of wind flutters my curtains. The summer afternoon feels still, as if time had stopped for a brief moment. I think about all the things I've lost and will never regain. Time is something that we can never regain. But I feel like as time goes on, there are things that we can regain with the conditions that we have. Thus, the long-gone days of mid-June passed by. I mailed my letter to Wanako and received no reply. Having decided to ditch the old one, I start observing my fellow students even closer than I did before, hoping to understand how other people cope with their own issues. I start seeing things I didn't before, and it makes me wonder if I've been wrong twice. Superficially, everyone is abnormal, yet so strikingly normal that it shocked me at first. I admired the way my new school mates turned my prejudices around just like that, simply by being themselves. Now I've gotten used to it, I begin noticing other kinds of tones in the people surrounding me every day. There is this soft numb sadness all around me. I can see the effort everyone has to make just to get through the day, and how it weighs on their shoulders, like it weighs on mine. Even the brightest smile is just slightly subdued, every outburst of annoyance just slightly dampened. It's subtle, but it's definitely there. I try to think what it means, what I can learn from others. I wonder if deep down, everyone is as lost as I am. I think every once in a while we get to that kind of pit where we can't really climb out of it at that point in time. But after a good night's sleep, we can do that. A new day presents new opportunities. Is there even one person here who has truly found peace? I start to feel doubtful about myself once again. There's only one time in our life where we can truly find peace, and it's at the end of life itself. I can't decide whether these people are happy, unhappy, or if they've just learned to cope and now live in an unfeeling limbo like I did all the spring. I escape from those feelings into the towering piles of books I carried to my room from Yuko's sanctuary. After realizing that this would just shut me down even more, I start going to the art clubs more often, usually whenever I can. Rin too seems to spend more time in there than in her own classroom. I often see her tutor towards the door at the very end of our corridor. That wooden door and the room behind it, smelling of paint and paper, seem to mean to her that the rest of the world combined. She says she has special permission to use the room, which I don't doubt at all. I don't think Noyama would deny Rin anything. He seems to dot on her like an uncle upon a favourite niece. The object of his affection, however, has no favourites. She says she appreciates the teacher a lot for going the extra mile for her sake, but even when she says that, her expression is the same as always. It's as if she was talking about a particularly unremarkable rock that she saw the other day. I can't really figure out their relationship. Red doesn't seem to let anyone close. I don't think even Emmy could say she's crossed the gap that seems to separate Rin from the rest of the world. I don't understand it. She seems so indifferent, yet so passionate at the same time. Somewhere the school bells ring the last call of the day. And here we are. I've realised I've been zoned out for who knows how long. Dazed, I sit up straighter, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. The pungent smells of linseed oil and turpentine mix in my nostrils as I draw a deep breath. I feel drowsy and lightheaded. It's already this late, and a few club members left early, so it's just me, Rin, the teacher, and 2 other girls who are also about to leave. And here we are again. Rin painting something. Rin is sitting to my right, slowly working on a painting while I idly but time away, sorry. I don't think she realised I've been watching her this whole time. God damn it! Why can't you be involved with something and try and create your own little mini project? With a nimble move of her delicate ankle, she dips the brush into crimson paint and presses it lightly onto the canvas. A stain spreads around, as if the brush was bleeding. Her progress is slowed down to a crawl. By now I've learned that this is dangerous for her technique, as the paint must not be allowed to dry before she's finished. It occurs to me that I am literally watching paint dry, yet somehow I'm not feeling bored despite spacing out just now. I think the word is content, in a way. Most of the time the art club is very relaxed and free form, apart from times when Nomiya gets really excited about some technique or style he wants to teach us about. Everyone is free to pursue their own interests. Lacking one, I keep floating around without direction. I try this and that, but nothing really leaves me with a deeper impression. Not to mention that I don't seem to have a special knack for anything. Come on, man! Life is all about your own discovery. Well, I did get praised for my attempt at watercolours, and I felt pretty good about that myself, but that's it. I suppose to be expected. I joined the art club mostly on a whim after all. I'm thinking that maybe I should quit the club, if it's going to be this pointless. Don't do that, man. But there's nothing really wrong with pointlessness, and I can't really say I'm unhappy. Unsatisfied maybe, but I've only got myself to blame for that. As a pair of girls exit the club room with a cheerful bye-bye, Nomiya stands up from his desk. His chair scoots back with a loud screech that breaks the harmony of this quiet afternoon. He taps a pile of papers in his hands twice against the tabletop in order to straighten them, then stretches his back. I have a faculty meeting to attend, so I can't stay. I have to do some paperwork later, so if you want to stay, we can talk then. Sorry about this. There are 2 people here, but he's really talking to only one of us. Nomiya spends extra hours of his time mentoring Rin after official club hours are over. And I'll bet he'd like to discuss his plans of getting Rin's art into a gallery a little more. It's alright. I think I'll probably be here, but it's not a big deal if I'm not. I don't really have much going on now. Rin answers without moving her eyes from her work in progress. The tone of her voice is neither the polite kind expected when talking to a teacher, nor her usual monotone. So I won't need to send a search party if you are here? Yes, no thanks. I don't like to party. We can talk later. Not that kind of party, you fool. Good girl. Smiling, the teacher picks up the rest of his papers and makes his way to the door. I glance at the clock above it, and then at my watch to double check. They're 3 minutes apart, but nonetheless, the club meeting's time is over now. Rin seems intent on staying here to work on her piece while waiting for the teacher. I can't quite imagine what their one-on-one time would be like. Would they actually discuss anything? Rin is always so subdued in what she says, and when she does say something, it's difficult to understand what she's talking about. Maybe Nomiya just talks endlessly like he does at club meetings, letting Rin absorb what she will from his infinite well of art knowledge, like a sunflower turning to face the glowing sun. Do you mind if I stay? I thought maybe I can give watercolors another try. I blurt out the excuse sort of accidentally, embarrassing myself. Rin doesn't take her eyes off her painting. Okay. I shift around in my chair, then get to fetching a cup of water, brushes, colours, and some paper. The sound of my footsteps invades the still afternoon air. Before starting, I try to recall what the teacher told us, an important philosophy of the medium. Working with watercolors means more working with water than working with color. That is a good way of looking at it, actually. I try to keep that in mind and dip my tiny sable brush into the water cup. I'm mixing yellow and blue, trying to capture the sunlit treetops outside of the window. The sun is low, so the yellows are more pronounced, and everything looks darker, sorry. I still can't quite connect what I see with what my hand does with the paints, but there's a passable attempt for my level. After a while, I start losing my focus and move the paper aside, decide to watch Rin work for a while instead. That little while stretches first into a long while, then into a really long while. Rin paints, her entire being fully concentrated on the brush between her slender toes and the painting coming to life one stroke at a time. She seems determined and yet at the same time relaxed, effortlessly moving the brush around, never hesitating. Colours meet and part, mix and cover each other on the canvas, blending to her quiet will. I don't know anything about composition, structure, or anything of that stuff, but I really like Rin's paintings. I like how she looks when she paints. As usual, the silence between us compels me to speak rather than merely wait for her to open up. She might end up saying nothing at all. Do you mind if we talk? I don't mind. I kind of wanted to ask more about why you get so weird about this thing the teacher wants to arrange for you. I wouldn't call it weird. That's a weird way of going about things. Rin picks up a tube of paint and squeezes it between her toes on her palette almost as easy as someone with opposite thumbs would. Taking a brush again, she replies, a lot of things, and some not things. Unthings. I don't think that's a word. That is definitely not a word. Do you want to talk about it? I try to reach out to her clumsily, ignoring the embarrassing feeling of awkwardness. Rin keeps her focus on the painting, spreading more and more paint on the canvas, her lips forming a perfectly straight line as she concentrates on the job. Not really. Talking is hard. I mean, it's not hard. It's about the subject itself that's hard. I'm talking even now, but saying the right things is really hard for me. No matter what, I just can't say the things I want. That sounds weird. It's true. I say all kinds of things I don't really mean all the time. And sometimes I forget words and then I use the wrong words. I even come up with new words for things that already have some. That's a word fiend. Words fiend, of course. I get really nervous and everything comes out a mess. And even I don't really understand what I want to say. I perfectly understand where you're coming from because that is exactly like me. But in a different way. I have a social, mental, learning difficulty barrier that prevents me from being able to say what I want to say. Or just being able to read the words on the screen. I think there's something wrong with me that makes it like this. There is nothing wrong with you. Remember when I said I could only think of 4 things at the same time? I nodded wordlessly. It's not really 4. I mean, it is 4, but everything else is also there kind of in the background. like being at an amusement park and a beehive at the same time, but that's not the point. I used to do better, like 6 or 7 things. I think so at least. I feel like I'm becoming dumber. I think everyone has times where they feel like they can't say the right things. But it's there all the time, stronger and deeper, yet deeper is a good word. I like that word. Deeper. I wonder why. It's that feeling of being underwater. Maybe it's just art. The more I paint, the more words I forget. Maybe at some point I will forget how to speak completely. It feels like I'm slowly forgetting everything. Do you remember what you thought about things 3 or 4 years ago? I don't. A long pause ensues, during which time seems to bend around itself, almost tying itself into a knot. I don't think I've ever heard Rin talk this earnestly and for so long about anything before. It's like I'm fading away from the world. Well, that's true in a way. We're all, at some point, going to completely fade away, even our bones. But it's what we do in our time in this world, or with our time in this world, that makes all the differences. What you do right now, what you're doing later on, what you did. Everything has a time and place. Everything that has happened, happened. And there's no such thing but something that happened without a reason. Every single thing in this world has a reason. Even if you can't find that reason right now, you might find it 50 years down the line. And at some point, you will always look back on life and think that, well, life isn't so bad. Regardless of how dark the world could be, life isn't so bad. Because it's what you do with your life that determines whether you want it to be good or bad. Anyways, I'm rambling on now. Rin's foot has stopped its works on the canvas and she is staring at her painting, unmoving, as if gazing at some faraway horizon. Probably looking at the horizon for an answer. Sunlight briefly glints in the corner of her onyx eyes. Sight flows up into the top layer of Rin's being and she lets out a long breath. Then she blinks and it's gone. Paintings stay behind. When I look at my old things, I remember what I was thinking back when I made them. They make me feel like I could be with all the past me's when I was a different me. I guess they are proof of my existence. And for me, these videos are a proof of my existence. She uses the exact same words Nomiya used when he spoke to us of the nature of art. I don't think Rin was paying any attention back then. I wonder if she was listening, or whether she had heard the same passionate speech from Nomiya before. Either way, I felt overwhelmed. Boy, are you complicated? I would have taken a right to the diary. Ah. Her eyes quickly flicker to my direction, and then back to the painting. But she doesn't pick up the brush anymore. That's a great idea. Why didn't I even think of that? Are you being sarcastic? What's sarcasm? It's saying something that you don't mean. I don't call her on the joke, if it is one. Right at that moment, Nomiya returns from his meeting. He waves to us a very melodramatic hello, mildly surprised to see me here along with his pet student, walking with a boisterous gait to his desk. Gait? Bait? He drops his papers upon it. He picks up a handkerchief and cleans his glasses with incredibly meticulous care before walking over to us. Before he is within earshot of us, Rin says something to me in a quick, quiet voice. Change is the scariest thing in the world to me. And I seriously don't know if I want to change into a person who could do the thing the teacher wants me to do. I don't know if I could even if I wanted to. Hello again. Hello. What's going on? He smiles a bit sheepishly, looking at us at both of us with uninhibited interest. Ah, nothing. We're just talking about the thing with your acquaintance and the gallery, for Rin's works, sort of. Oh ho ho, any decisions? I look at Rin, who is trying to arrange with a bothered expression her face into something else. Aha. 3 different options. Very interesting. But this will be the perfect time to end off the video here, folks. So thank you all so much for watching. This has been very interesting, but for the majority of the video, just like the previous video, it's all been about being around Rin in a way, which I hope by now confirms that this is definitely Rin's route of the game. Like, we're not going to be spearheading back into another section of the game just because of that. It's just about this. So thank you all so much for watching, guys. See you all in the next time of Katawa Shoujo. Have a lovely day and take care of yourselves.